In 2041, the sky turned a uniform, milky white. The Aegis program began. Fleets of aircraft released particles to cool the planet. Heat waves stopped, glaciers slowed, but sunsets faded, and stargazing ended. The sky became policy, not nature. The world was saved, but forever changed. Humanity became the planet's engineer. Survival, at any cost. Climate engineering wasn't triggered by a single disaster. It was the sum of countless small, rational decisions. Nations pledged to cut emissions, but global consumption kept rising. Fossil fuel subsidies persisted. Economic models demanded growth. Promises and reality drifted further apart. The warnings weren't ignored. They were outcompeted by immediate pressures. Climate change was always tomorrow's problem. This faith in future solutions became a trap. By deferring action, only extreme options remained. The choice was never mitigation or engineering. It was engineering or collapse. Early carbon capture tech gave false hope. Licensing continued pollution. But these technologies were a bandage on a hemorrhage. Carbon dioxide levels soared past points of no return. Our systems, economic, political, psychological, were built for extraction, not restraint. Climate engineering didn't require sacrifice or new values. It offered a fix that managed symptoms, not causes. It was the path of least resistance. And so we took it. The inevitability was systemic. The future was engineered. Collapse was simply managed. The evidence was always there, hidden in plain sight. By the mid-2020s, AI models predicted climate outcomes with chilling accuracy. They showed emissions targets would be missed, tipping points crossed. These predictions drove real-world investment. Financial institutions divested from risky coasts, invested in geoengineering. The market quietly bet on planetary management. Governments followed the data, launching covert research into marine cloud brightening and aerosol dispersal. What was once unthinkable became plausible, then necessary. The public focused on solar panels and consumer choices, missing the real shift. While we debated paper straws, the architecture of a geoengineered world was assembled. The decision wasn't a single moment, it was a series of incremental steps. The Overton window shifted, guided by cold, hard data. The technological, financial, and political infrastructure was built quietly. The future was decided by algorithms, not debate. The whispers of the machine forecasted our failure to change. The world's fate was sealed in code. The path to planetary management was paved by data. The public never saw it coming. The real decisions happened in silence. The machine's logic prevailed. The engineered world was inevitable. The turning point wasn't a storm. It was a sound. On May 7, 2038, a low-frequency resonance echoed from the North Atlantic. The Atlantic meridional overturning circulation had collapsed. The planet's climate regulator failed. Weather patterns spun into chaos. Europe froze. South Asia's monsoons failed. Sea levels surged. The damage was irreversible. Humanity lost its illusion of control. The Earth was not a passive backdrop. It was an active, unpredictable force. The collapse triggered a global emergency. Gradual change was no longer an option. World powers convened. Only one solution promised immediate intervention. The Aegis program was activated. The decision was unanimous. An act of desperation. We could no longer live with the planet. We could only manage it. The debate ended. The era of planetary engineering began. The world's circulatory system had failed. The response was total intervention. The planet became a patient. Humanity became its caretaker. The old world ended with a sound. The new world began with a decision. Climate engineering reshaped global power. A new consortium, the Directorate, emerged. Nations with the means to manage the climate. The US, China, the EU, and a few others became arbiters of the global thermostat. Their closed-door decisions determined sunlight, weather, and survival. Climate became currency. Access to carbon capture, a tool of leverage. A new hierarchy formed, managers and managed. Wars shifted from land to data, drones, and rare earth minerals. Espionage targeted climate models and engineering projects. The ultimate weapon, altering an adversary's climate. The UN faded, the directorate ruled. Global agreements were replaced by operational directives. The world was governed by those who controlled the sky. Sovereignty gave way to planetary management. The new empire was built on atmosphere, not territory. Power was measured in control of the climate. The fate of nations rested in the hands of a few. The sky became the seat of power. Climate engineering redefined work. The largest employer became planetary maintenance. Millions operated and maintained geoengineering infrastructure. Drone pilots, DAC technicians, data analysts, all cogs in a global machine. Work was specialized, repetitive, and measured by efficiency. Individuality faded, predictability and compliance ruled. Stability replaced autonomy and purpose. Humans became maintainers, not creators. Social structures adapted. Status tied to one's role in planetary management. Prestige belonged to data analysts, not artists. Society's values mirrored the machine. Efficiency, stability, control. Human worth was measured by utility to the system. The wildness of life was lost. We saved ourselves, but lost something fundamental. The world was stable, but diminished. We became servants to the system we built. The most profound change was an absence, collective memory lost. The generation born under the white sky never knew a natural climate. Stories of blue skies and wild storms became myths. This forgetting was deliberate. Stability required acceptance. Education reframed climate engineering as triumph, not desperation. The trauma of the past was erased. Nature became a museum piece, simulated, curated, artificial. Wildness was something to visit, not live. The connection to the untamed planet was severed. Language changed. Wild and natural lost meaning. The emotional bond with Earth withered. We became custodians, not participants. The sublime was traded for the stable. Our bodies survived, but our collective soul forgot its origins. The engineered world erased the memory of what was lost. The most surprising outcome was in our bodies. Direct air capture facilities became the planet's lungs, scrubbing carbon relentlessly. The purest air became a luxury commodity. Bottled, piped, and sold to the wealthy, pure air was reserved for the elite. The poor breathed managed, but compromised air. Health, cognition, and life expectancy became tied to air quality. Breathing was monetized. Inequality deepened. Society split by the air people could afford. The elite thrived. The masses suffered. The act of living became a privilege. We saved the planet but priced life itself. The goal was survival, but the result was division. Not everyone was saved equally. The air itself became a measure of worth. I remember the blue sky, the warmth of unfiltered sunlight, the clarity of winter stars. These are memories of a world that no longer exists. I was part of the generation that made the final decisions. We told ourselves we were saving the world. We chose control over chaos, management over collapse, but we didn't measure what couldn't be quantified, the value of a real sunset, the loss of wildness. We saved the patient, but the patient is now a machine. I live in the world we made, safe, stable, predictable. It is both our triumph and our failure. We had the knowledge, the warnings, the choice to change. We waited until only drastic options remained. We became gods, only to become servants to our own system. This is our legacy. A world saved, but diminished. Humanity survived, but is less than it was. We traded the soul of the planet for existence. Children born now will never know what was lost. They will call the white sky normal, the managed air life. The other day I watched a bird land on my balcony, just for a moment. It looked around, confused, then flew off. I felt something, maybe regret, or just a kind of emptiness I can't quite explain. Was it worth the matter? Anschein I'm like sure mine Roger. Sometimes I think about that bird, and how it didn't seem to belong here any more than I do. Maybe the real question is what we're willing to accept as enough, and whether we'll notice what's missing before it's gone.